Ever since the beginning of time, simulation games have been a part of our society. For example, backgammon simulates moving through scenarios with random integers. Tic-tac-toe simulates how to successfully market your content and defeat your competitor. And wrestling simulates a home invasion so you can stop thieves from stealing your precious amiibos. With all these historic rituals, why wouldn't video games begin experimenting with simulations? So, in the 80s, came all these beloved and diverse simulation games, such as SimCity, SimEarth, SimAnt, SimLife, SimFarm, SimCity 2000, SimTower, SimHealth, SimIsle, SimTown, SimGolf, SimCopter, SimTunes, SimPark, Streets of SimCity, and SimSafari. So, as you can see, many companies were getting into the simulation genre. Many companies. And to follow up the massive franchise that I played in grade school, they created their first social simulation, The Sims. Everyone knows The Sims. It was a hit. It's still a hit today. It's making news for glitches. And good old genre master Nintendo catches a glimpse of this upcoming fad and takes it a step further by making a genius game design choice of replacing humans with animals. And because of that decision, Animal Crossing got Nintendo rolling in bells, and I mean a lot of bells. But we're not here to talk about the game design. You can find that anywhere else on YouTube. We're talking about the story. Story in Animal Crossing? That's ridiculous. I must be one of those people who try to get you to believe anything, but I want to show you the story. Besides, I'm sure you've seen more ridiculous videos in your time on the internet. So, where is the story in Animal Crossing? We'll be talking about the first 3 Animal Crossing games since they all follow roughly the same story. New Leaf and Happy Home Designer have different stories and deserve their own respective video. I can't think of any other Animal Crossing games, so let's jump into it. To really identify the story, it's best to start off by identifying the 6 archetypes that are present in every story. The hero, our protagonist, the companion, the hero's partner, the mentor, the one who guides the hero, the shadow, the villain, the trickster, the comic relief, and of course, the shapeshifter, the traitor. At the very beginning of Animal Crossing, the villager is on a train, headed to begin a new life after having a summer fling with the Wii Fit trainer. On this train, he meets Rover the cat. Rover is the protagonist's first mentor, the one who gives them a name and creates this world that they're traveling to. And then he's gone. Forever. Kind of. Once the villager gets off the train and arrives in his new town that was just created 3 minutes beforehand, he's greeted by the Tanuki, the hustler, and the only real estate agent in town, Tom Nook.
Tom Nook on my back, always on about the cash. I told him I'ma make it if these songs sell, then I'll be back with a whole fat stack of these bells. Told me he could care less about the moves I make. All that matters in the end is him getting paid.
Now when thinking of who from Animal Crossing fills the villain slot, you immediately assume Tom Nook. Many seem to view him as the antagonist or the villain. And I'm here to say, you're all looking at the wrong place. He just puts the villager into financial debt. He's just doing his job, technically. Gandalf gave Frodo the ring, but he's not a villain. Jar Jar Binks' existence isn't his fault. He's not the antagonist. George Lucas is the antagonist in that situation. And Littlefinger started the entire Game of Thrones, but that doesn't make him, well, I actually forget that one. Do you see what I'm getting at, though? Tom Nook doesn't continue to antagonize. In fact, he is extremely generous if you really think about everything he does. To begin with, Tom Nook gives the villager a really nice discount on the house. Then the following payments aren't over the top expensive and they're all in realistic range. If you convert bells to US dollars, then the total debt only adds up to Okay, how can you make 50 FNAF videos but not a game theory on bells exchange rate? Either way, it's a good deal, and no one seems to take notice of that. But who am I kidding? It's fun to picture Tom Nook as the antagonist. But if he isn't, who's the villain? The bank.
We have got to break the large financial institutions up.
Alright, Bernie Shrunk, alright. Let's go against this video and talk about game design for a second, just so I can simplify this next statement. Paying off all the loans that the bank holds over the player's head is the main conflict in the game. It's similar to saving Hyrule from Ganondorf in Ocarina of Time. The weight of Hyrule is held over the player's head by Ganondorf through the entire game. While there isn't an epic and climatic battle at the end of Animal Crossing, there's still a sense of freedom and success. And by this logic, gathering money throughout the game is the equivalent of fighting the final boss. As crazy as it sounds, I'm saying that the entire game is basically a final boss battle, unless you want to count each layer of debt as a boss or temple or different obstacle. Want a larger room, basement, or second floor? Defeat the current boss by collecting money, then return to the quest giver, Tom Nook, and set out on your next mission. Unless you don't want the expansions, but I think only 2 people in the world buy Animal Crossing and don't strive to get every house edition. I mean, come on, don't you want to impress your furry digital fictional animal friends? I mean, I do. I personally would. I love it. Stitches, come over here. Check out my crib. Stitches. So in story terms, the bank falls under the shadow archetype. So where does that leave our good friend Crooked Tom Nook? Well, he technically falls under the mentor archetype, simply because he tasks the player with taking down their loans. But we all know that Tom Nook doesn't stand by and let you do what you want. He's a salesman. He presses the player to expand their house as much as they can. Like the Emperor in Star Wars, he pushes people into conflict, which does give him a villainous portrayal. But at the same time, he helps the player in different scenarios. He sells them tools to make money, he provides them a job in their desperate time of need, and honestly, he completely rebuilds the player's house within 24 hours. Which is unheard of in our world, so I mean, why aren't more people praising him for that power, that ability? That's incredible! But he does show both evil and heroic traits while acting as a mentor. So he falls into the hybrid category of shape-shifter mentor. He isn't this complete evil being that everyone makes him out to be. He's only half of what everyone makes him out to be. His nephews are the evil ones, let me tell you. Have you seen their prices? Don't judge Tom because of his insensitive nephews. Alright, so those are the 3 biggest archetypes. But what about the others? We're left with Companion and Trickster. Well, that's where the social simulation comes into play. Animals come and go in the player's town, but the player forms a relationship with each one of them. Some animals can make you smile and laugh. Those are the tricksters, the ones who deliver comic relief. And then there are animals who are just pleasant to talk to. Someone who you can send mail to and they'll reply within a day or 2. These are companions, friends of the hero. They also help the player get through their debt by offering them errands to run for bells or gifts. And because they're giving the player helpful items that can be sold to increase game completion, they're heroic. But what about those who try to sell items and take from the player? That's right, I'm calling every shopkeeper in the little town a villain in the Animal Crossing plot. Clothes, furniture, and plants aren't going to belittle the debt. It'll only raise the stakes. It'll give you more to pay off. The next time you go into the Able Sister store, think before you buy that dope sweater, because it'll only increase the stress the debt brings. Abel and Mabel are actually plotting your downfall. They're in cahoots with Tom Nook to buy out your house when it goes up on the market. And they're going to flip it and sell it to Stitches, your beloved friend, so he can begin his meth lab in the basement and turn the town into a drug-filled village and no one wants to visit. But that's just a slight over-dramatization. Just know that whoever sells you something that can't be used to speed up revenue is a villain. Now that we have the 6 archetypes figured out, we know the Animal Crossing story. Let's recap. Villager begins on a train. They are approached by Rover, their mentor, who challenges them by requiring information. Villager gets off the train and meets the lovely Tom Nook, who is the shapeshifter, who sells them a house for a very reasonable 19,800 bells. But when Villager can't afford it, Tom Nook is super nice and offers them a temporary job to pay it off. After about 10 minutes of work, the Villager is debt-free and requests to get a larger house. And this is where the bank attacks them by pressuring debt. This is the beginning of that final boss. The Villager then has adventures when gathering money, such as running errands for friends, using tools to discover hidden money, and helping special visitors who in the end gives you money. All while struggling with debt because of aesthetics. But the Villager ends up paying off their loans and having the largest and most decorated and most dank house in all of their town. Unless you want to say there's a split timeline where the Villager fails to pay the loans, and because of that, the bank isn't sealed away by the safe. Stop. That's just a new way to look at our beloved Animal Crossing. Am I overanalyzing a pretty simple game? Yeah, definitely. Nintendo doesn't really seem to care about story, but it's exciting to discover story elements behind a game that already feels like an open book. But that's just what I had to say about the story. Thank you guys for watching another episode of What About the Story. I'm glad that I got some positive support in the previous one about Birthright. This one's a little bit different because, well, it's not Fire Emblem and it's Animal Crossing. So, anyways, thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for more coming soon.
Or take requests. Don't really play for money, been a free spirit. We'll play at any time if anyone's willing to hear it. Don't think I'ma change, no one moving this street.